What's up guys, this is Jrod4x, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys another weekly technicals video. So I do these every single week for my premium group live, where they can ask me any questions they have, and we go over all the charts, all the pairs I'm looking at, and anything that I'll be looking for inside the chart so I can make them aware of it as well. Now, before we get into today's video, I do want to just kind of show you guys what it looks like inside of the premium group, because I know a few of you have been thinking about actually joining, but you were asking me like, what does the premium group look like? What's inside of it? What do you get? All that stuff. So at the beginning of this weekly technicals video, I just kind of wanted to show you guys a little bit of what it looks like, what you get, and kind of like what goes on inside the premium group. Because if you're sitting on the outside and you really just watch the weekly technicals every week, it may not really be that valuable to you, and you really may not get what I'm talking about, or you may not get the insights as others may get it if they know the material. So inside of the premium group, once you join, basically you'll get access to multiple different groups where you'll have direct access to me and all the other members. So one of them is the Facebook group. So inside of the Facebook group, I upload all of my weekly and daily technical sessions. So if you come right over here to the right, you'll see daily technicals 61 and weekly technicals 23. If you click those, it'll basically pull up all of my previous weekly technical sessions from every single week until I started, from when I started the group. So you can scroll all the way back down and you can watch each one. And you can also see each one is about 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes a little longer than an hour, but there's plenty of information in all of these videos. So that itself is just like 60 plus hours of video that you can go through and just learn from like my past analysis, and then pull up the charts and see what ended up happening. Was I right? Was I wrong? All that stuff. So that's pretty much how you can navigate between the daily and weekly technicals. But one of the main features of the group is for you guys to actually go in and participate, right? So you can go in the group, you can share feedback with me, you can let me know about the session. Was it good? Did what I talk about make sense to you? All that. So you can post your examples of your charts in here. Really anything. As you guys see, I'm pretty active in terms of doing my daily and weekly technicals, so those fill up a lot of the group. But anytime you have a question or anything like that, feel free to post it, and then I can answer you in there as well. So that's kind of how the group looks. In addition to that, you'll have access to the premium chat here, where it's just me and all of the group members. So we can kind of like communicate back and forth. If they have any questions directly after I've just said something in the private group or anything like that, they can ask me in here. So that is basically a direct line of access to me via this premium chat here, as well as all of the other members. So you can talk to anyone in there, and maybe how they have their charts set up, or how do they use how do they take the signals, how are their charts laid out, all of that. So you can communicate with me or any of the other group members in there. So now just to kind of give you a little bit of insights, like how the Telegram group looks. So the Telegram group is where I actually call the signals. So here is where you'll see all the signals come in, where you'll be notified of the signals, all that. So it pretty much looks like this. I didn't want to pull up the whole Telegram and all that. I just wanted to take some screenshots so you guys could easily see. But here we've got, this was on Friday, I called a Euro USD sell. And you can see I basically talk about the pair, the risk management that I'm using, where I'm looking to sell at. So you have the levels and the current market price. So you could see I was looking to sell between 13.35 and 13.40. Current market price was 13.38, and we were targeting 13.20 and then 13 big figure. With our stop loss type of trade, it was an intraday trade, so nothing long term, just specifically for Friday as the day. Volatility, I was expecting medium, and risk was medium. So that's basically exactly how the signals look when I call them. And then in addition to the signals themselves, you'll get all the different things that I'm thinking in terms of price action, what I'm looking for in the charts, all of that. So here's an example that I basically showed from one of the daily technicals videos. We had outlined this blue box and this red box, expecting the market to find support here and resistance here. So this was me updating the group on those levels, how it ended up unfolding, and what ended up happening from that. So that was nice to see there. And that's basically how the Telegram looks and how the Facebook group looks. So now you guys are probably wondering, like, do your signals actually work? Are they profitable? How does it all look in terms of, you actually trading? And could you show me some proof? So that's what we're going to show you now. So here is a couple different examples of trades that we took inside the group. This here was a trade that we took on GBP USD. It was a 35 pip trade, and we took this October 15th. So I did the most recent trades that I have. I haven't been trading too much really at all the past 2 weeks because we had congressional elections and FOMC as well as NFP. So I wasn't too active in the markets then, but the previous weeks before that, which were this week here and also the next week I'm about to show you, were the most recent trades I took in terms of wins and losses. So I wanted to be as transparent as possible with you guys and show you everything that I've taken. So here we've got this was a London trade that we took. So I was targeting the fill of this gap here, so the market gap down on the week, and I was expecting them to trade up early in the week to just kind of fill that gap and maybe continue lower or continue higher from there. Didn't really bother me what happened. I just was targeting the gap fill itself. So I entered down here during London, and as you can see, I took my profit up here around 35 pips profit, and this was October 15th again. Okay, so that was one example there, and we've got another one here, which this was a Euro USD, so this was the same day. So as you can see, that was one trade on GBP USD plus 35 pips. And then here we've got a Euro USD trade that is plus 33 pips, so about 70 pips in the day off of this. And basically similar scenario, we gapped down for the week, and we had an ICT bullish order block that formed here, and I entered on the retest of that, and I was targeting the run above these highs. And I always enter a few pips early just to be safe that I don't, leave a potential profit on the table. Which I'm okay with leaving profit on the table, but I don't want to, not exit here and then it come down and stop me out or something. So I always avoid that by exiting any position 5 to 10 pips early, and that's what you see here. So that was two examples there, both about 30 pips. So those were nice trades. And I don't want to lie to you guys. Sometimes I do take losses, right? And that's completely normal. I don't want you to come into my group thinking that I will never take a loss, because I do take losses. But here's the trick. Whenever I take a loss, my losses will never be as big as my wins. So as long as I keep my wins bigger than my losses, I will always remain consistent and be profitable, right? So in this situation here, you see me take about a 10 to 12 pip loss, I believe it was. Yeah, 10 pip loss. So this was the end of New York session, which typically I don't like trading anyways, but we hadn't been too active this week, and I wanted to take the potential setup that we seen. So this was the following day after the previous trades, and this was a Tuesday. I'm thinking it was a Tuesday, and we had broken below this low here, and I was entering on the retest of this ICT breaker. And I ultimately closed it once we got up here, but as you could see, we ended up coming down. But with it being late during the session, I went ahead and took my loss. So, that happens sometimes as well, guys. You'll close out early, and then the market will ultimately make the move you were looking for. This is an example of that here, but nonetheless, I took a 10 pip loss on it, right? I didn't get back in, so I did ultimately take a loss. And I'm sure most of you guys, if you're not in the group, you're probably struggling with this. You're exiting right before the move happens, and it's really frustrating. Don't think that goes away, because that will happen still once you know what you're doing, but it happens a lot less. So I don't want to say it happens all the time, but this is an example of that. I was already kind of questioning going in at the end of New York session. I did it anyways, and as you could see, once we had this pop up, I closed out my position. If I would have waited 30 minutes, yeah, I would have seen profit, but was it worth it to me? No. I would rather take my 10 pip loss than have waited so late during the session, which is already going away from my plan. Okay, so I didn't want to do that, and that was basically the criteria and scenario behind that. And then the last trade I want to show you guys was one that we took pretty recently. This was right before Halloween. This was October 30th. And it was about a 100 pip trade just on a single day. So this is beautiful when we get things like this. Obviously, you guys just seen a 10 pip loss. And then if you have, the two trades before that were 70 pips in a day. This is 100 pips in a day. Guys, I don't look to take losses bigger than 20 pips. So any profit I'm looking to take in, it's going to be 50 pips or more. Any losses are going to be 20 pips or less. That's just how I do it. I don't want to take any losses bigger than 20 pips. I don't allow myself to. So even if I have to close out early and the move ends up happening like it did in the last picture, I'm willing to do that because I don't want to take losses that are bigger than my profit, right? So here you guys will see signal was called at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Market trades right back up into this bearish order block, retests it. If you miss the opportunity here, you get one more option here to take the entry between 28 big figure to 28.10, which was the signal price levels to sell at. Market gives us the high here, and then we sell off aggressively. Take profit 1, 2, 3, and 4 all hit in the same day. You can see me closing partial profits. I closed some profits here and closed some profits here. And that locked me in for about 70 pips between those two. And ultimately, once take profit 4 was hit, that was about 100 pips. So we got 27 big figure here, and we're all the way up at 28 big figure here. So sell at 28, take profit 27, 100 pips, one single day. And you know it's one single day because we've got the 29th here, and then we've got the 30th here. So these vertical lines mark 1 day's worth of time. 29th to the 30th. 1 day. So beautiful trade here, and that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to show you guys, what it looks like inside the group, the things you'll get access to, and really just how everything works. So if you feel like this is something that makes sense for you and where you're at in your trading, then all you have to do, guys, just click the link right below this video and then you'll be able to sign up. So that's it, guys. With all that being said, let's go ahead and we'll move into the weekly technicals portion of this video. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the weekly technicals live session for November 11th, 2018. And before we go ahead and get started going over the technicals for the week, I want to just talk about the economic calendar and the upcoming news releases that we have. So on Monday, we do have a bank holiday for the US dollar, so just keep that in mind. We probably won't be trading until Tuesday, which is relatively normal for a normal trading week. So ideally, I'm looking to trade between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the most high probability days in terms of trading. And so again, Monday, honestly, probably won't be doing too much, but if you look at Tuesday, we do have a late London session GBP news, both high and medium impact for that. And then we've also got some medium impact dollar index news as well around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Whoa, that time is actually wrong, so I need to change that. Sorry, hold on, guys. Just gotta fix my time. Alright, so for Tuesday, London session and New York, we both have news events for that. And Wednesday looks pretty nice. We do have a GBP high impact news as well as 2 medium impact news releases for the British pound. And for New York session, we have 2 high impact dollar index news events at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we've also got a speaker later on in the day around 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that could be a pretty active Asia session for any of the majors on Wednesday. And for Thursday, we have some more GBP news. So we've got a lot of news for the British pound during London this week. And New York session, we've got 4 dollar index. Oh, we've got actually way more than 4. So we've got 2 high impact dollar index news releases. Thursday, New York session, we've got core retail and regular retail sales. And 2 medium impact, which we've got Empire State Manufacturing Index and the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. And then 7 and 8, we've got a speaker as well as crude oil inventories. And then 8:30, we've got another high impact dollar index news with a speaker. So Wednesday and Thursday will probably be very volatile days in the markets. Honestly, those are seeming to be my 2 favorite days for this week, going into the just before we even get into the technical portion in terms of days to be trading. Wednesday and Thursday look to be the best opportunities in my opinion. And Friday really isn't too much. We do have a little bit of Euro news and a few news events in New York session, but not too concerned about this. Mainly want to focus my energy on Tuesday through Thursday this week, primarily between Wednesday and Thursday. So keep an eye on your charts for Wednesday and Thursday, the 14th and the 15th. we should see a lot of volatility, and just look for your high probability setups or whatever patterns you use for entries. Obviously, you guys in the premium group, you'll get access to any of the signals that I do take between those days, and I'll post those in the Telegram group. So with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and we'll jump into the actual technical analysis portion of this video, and we're going to start off with the dollar index. So looking at the dollar index, you guys can see early on in the week we had a little bit of a decline here, and we've come right down into the 50% level of this ICT bullish order block, and looks to me like we formed a low here. Well, we have formed a low, but a pretty significant low in my opinion. I don't think the market will have to come back down below this low as long as we remain bullish. So basically from here, I'd like to see price to continue expanding higher. And first objective, so we've already hit our 97 objective, which happened on Friday. The high of the week ended up being 97.01. So perfect price delivery on that. And going into this week now, the objectives I'll be looking for is 97.20 will be my first objective for the upside on dollar index, and 97.20. After that, I'll be looking for 97.50, which will bring us here, basically right into this ICT bearish order block. And if we can get some continuation from there, I'll be looking for 98 big figure, which is above this swing high, relatively equal swing highs here. And then we've got 97.80 back here, which is another ICT bearish order block. So as of right now and for the week, I'll be looking for 97.20 to 98 big figure. So that's roughly about 110 pips or so from where we're at now. But I definitely think that we should see continued expansion to the upside for dollar index, which that in itself should mean weaker prices for foreign currency. So when dollar index is expanding, we should see pairs like Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, things like that. We should see them start to decline with the strength of dollar index. So really there's nothing else that I'm looking for on dollar index other than higher prices. Now if we do for whatever reason get back below the 95.80 level, which is the 50% level of this ICT bullish order block, which will also pretty much take us below this daily low that was formed on Wednesday. If we get below that, then at that point we may have to consider lower prices, looking for 95.40, which is this ICT bullish order block, and potential expansion below this low here and down into this daily ICT bullish order block. But as of right now, everything in terms of the market structure on a daily basis is suggesting higher prices, correct? So we've got a low, a high, which made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, potential higher high up here. So that'll be above the 97.20 level, and that should be the price action that we get going into the week. So Monday, Tuesday, I would expect the market to maybe have some sort of a retracement, potentially down into the 96.60, maybe down to 96.50, which would tap into this daily ICT bullish order block here, these two relatively small down candles. And if we hit that, we could definitely find some support, and that could be potentially where the low of the week forms and we see expansion to the upside. So keep that in your notes for the week, 96.60 down to potentially 96.50 as an objective for the low of the week. So that would be the area that I'm looking to buy at, in between 96.50 and 96.60. And if we find support, I'll be looking for expansion up to 97.20, 97.50, and 98 big figure. So now if we look at Eurodollar, by already having our analysis done on dollar index and expecting higher prices on dollar index, we should be looking for lower prices in foreign currency, right? So when we're looking at pairs like this, Eurodollar, we should expect price to continue moving lower. So we have to look at the market and see where is the liquidity at resting below the market, where they'll likely want to trade down into. So if we look, we've got two relatively equal lows here at the 1.13 big figure between this daily low and this daily low. Wednesday we came all the way up, formed the high of the week at the 50% level called last week in the weekly technicals. So make sure you guys follow along each week with the weekly technicals and have the levels on your charts, because you'll be able to see them come to fruition if they do, or even if they don't get hit. But in this case, we had the 50% level of this daily ICT bearish order block marked out, and we traded right up into it, found resistance, and that was the same day we had the congressional elections. Actually, no, this was FOMC day. And then we had the congressional elections the next day. So we found resistance there, and we closed with the bodies of the candles below the daily ICT bearish order block low right here. So that's a key thing to remember. Look at the bodies of the candles. Disregard the wick and look at the bodies, how they're respecting the low of this candle. From there, we see expansion down, and honestly, I think we'll just continue pushing lower, so we should see 1.13 big figure early on in the week. Again, Monday and Tuesday, we could trade up a bit, and we could actually see the market retest this ICT bearish order block here. So that'll come in anywhere from 1360 down to potentially 1380. Absolute most, I would be looking for 1.14 big figure. So in terms of bearish structure for this pair here, Eurodollar, we shouldn't see price go back above 14 big figure. So as long as we remain below 1.14 big figure, we should see price continue expanding for the downside objectives, which our first one is again 1.13 big figure. And if we get below 1.13 big figure, I'll be looking for this daily ICT bullish order block, which comes in at the 1.1220 level. And from there, we do have this swing low, which comes in at around 1.1140. So that's going to be much longer term, but honestly for the week, I'm going to be looking for expansion below the 1.13 big figure, and I want to see if we can get down to the 1250 to potentially 1.12 big figure. So that's ideally what I'm looking for on this pair here, which is about 120 pips away from us where we're at with current market price. So going into this week, again, just anticipate a potential bullish rally or something early on in the week that could take us into this ICT bearish order block low here, which comes in at 1.1355. And on the high side of things, we could come all the way back up to 1.14 big figure, which is essentially the 50% level of this daily ICT bearish order block. And that's why I'm using that level, as well as a big figure level as well. So remember that typically the significant daily high and lows will form around those big figure levels, which if you don't know what the big figure levels are, it's just any levels that will come followed by zeros. So you'll have 1.14000, that's a big figure level. Let's see, so to change this. Alright, so we've got our 50% level marked out, which is 1.14 big figure, and we've got our low marked out, which is 1.1355. So in terms of resistance for the week, we should see the market find resistance at either one of those levels. Again, we never know which level it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be 1355. I don't know if it's going to be 1380. I don't know if it's going to be 14 big figure. All we have to look for, guys, is once we get into those levels, once we're trading higher and we reach one of those objectives, we have to be looking for price to basically prove to us that it wants to go lower. So for this example, we're expecting bearish price action. So we would be looking for the market to trade up into resistance and then prove to us that it's going to go lower. The only way that we can get that proof or that validation that it's going to go lower is by looking at price action on a lower time frame. So for example, right now I'm on the daily time frame. In order for me to confirm that this level is holding as resistance, again, for this example it's resistance, but it's the same thing for support. So the market would be trading up into 1350 to 1380. Once we're around that level, we can drop down to a 60-minute or even a 15-minute time frame. And then once we're on that time frame, we're going to be looking for price to basically give us that pattern, which will confirm our idea. So you're probably thinking, what pattern are you talking about? Just the simple bearish price action pattern. So we want to see the market form a high, then we want to see the market come back down and make a low that's lower than the previous low, push back up and make a lower high, which should be lower than the previous high formed, and then from there we should see another lower low form. Once we have this second lower low form, that indicates what? A break in structure on a lower time frame, which confirms that our higher time frame level is actually holding as true support or true resistance. So we never know which level is going to hold. We just have to wait for price action to confirm that level on the lower time frame. So in this example, say that this is the level that we use. This is the exact scenario and the exact type of price action you would want to see. So this little image right here is exactly what you would want to be looking for off of the level. So the market comes up right to your level here, forms a high. Then the market trades lower, forms a low, lower than the previous low. Come back up, make a lower high, and then a lower low. You'll be selling on the retest of this low. So we would need to wait for the market to come one more time, back up into here, retest this low, and then from there we'll be able to sell and look for our 1.13 big figure. Now that may not be the exact price action that we get on or at that level, but the point is that's the plan that we're going in there with, and we're going to stick to that until the market obviously proves to us otherwise, right? So as of right now, what we want to see is this market trade up into one of these levels, find resistance there, and then we should see the market start to sell off and go for our lower objectives, which is again 1.13 big figure and then 1.2950. And if we can get below 2950, we'll be looking for the 1.12, what is it? 1.1220, which is again this daily bullish order block here. I can zoom in so you guys can see it. So it's this down candle before you had this explosive move up, which broke structure above these highs. You got to keep this level marked out. So that's one thing I want to talk about as well. I know most of the times most people are confused about which levels to mark out, and really you just need to mark out the next upcoming level of support or the next upcoming level of resistance. So for me, typically those levels are bullish or bearish ICT order blocks. And in this case, you can see I've got this one marked out, and then I've got a low. So I have basically the order blocks, which are my support and resistance levels, and then I have the lows or highs marked out, which are either targets or potential runs on liquidity. So for this example, you guys see that I have all three here, and those are my targets. So once we're down at those levels, unless we show signs of changing direction, that's going to be where I'm taking my profit and looking to scale off my position that I'm in from the trade. So again, just to kind of recap Eurodollar, I know I've said a lot about this one. We want to see the market trade up into 1.1350 up to at max 1.14 big figure. It should not go above or close above. Let me rephrase that. It should not close above 1.14 big figure if this market is bearish. So as long as we remain below 1.14 big figure, we'll be looking for our lower objectives. So anything you can find to basically hop on a potential sell and take your profits at the levels I mentioned, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing this week. So again, those of you in the premium group will get access to all my signals. So you'll have those coming via the Telegram chat. But if you're someone who just watches this maybe on Instagram or YouTube and you don't have access to those signals, basically, you're going to have to be operating on your own, which is completely fine. Just make sure that you're obviously setting realistic objectives for yourself. And when you're entering the trade, that you're entering at one of these logical daily levels I'm talking about. You don't want to just be entering off of a 15-minute level. You want to be entering off of the daily level. So obviously those of you in my premium group won't have to worry about that. It's just mainly for those of you that may watch this on Instagram or YouTube. I do want you to be able to take advantage of these moves, but obviously you're not going to have the information that the premium group has. But you can use most of my analysis from the weekly technicals in any of the trades that you take within the week, and that should definitely provide some insights into what I would be doing or potentially what I would be thinking around those levels. So and again, that's why I provide these sessions to you guys, not just the premium group. I give them away to everyone for free because I want everyone to know basically my analysis on the markets and my outlook for the week. but obviously I only want my premium group to have access to all the trades I'm taking and the information that I'm giving out and all that. So yeah, just wanted to kind of include that in there. But let's go ahead and move on to GBP USD now. And basically same thing goes for this one, right? We're going to be looking for lower prices, and as you guys can see, the market's opened already, so we've already had a little bit of a gap down here. If you notice, on Friday we closed at 29.72, and then the market opened at 29.14. So we actually had a nice little 60 pip gap down here for the week open, which is definitely interesting to note. Typically when we see that, that usually means that the market will have a pretty significant move in that direction. So I don't want to say if the market gaps down that you should automatically be looking for sells in that pair, because that's not true. But when you've done all of your analysis and you've done your research and you're in line with what the market has been doing, in this particular situation, you guys already knew that before we even got to this pair, I was expecting weakness based on my dollar index analysis, right? Notice what we've done now. So Friday the market closed, and then we opened today 60 pips lower. What does that show us for this pair? Relative weakness, right? Because obviously if the market was strong, or if this was aka a bullish order block, we should have seen higher prices, right? But we gapped right through it, which is telling me that support is not holding in this market. And what's being respected? Resistance, right? So you see bearish order block, comes into it, resistance. We've got a bearish order block, we've traded up into that, we found resistance, sold off, closed here, and then we gapped 60 pips lower for the market open. So what I'll be looking for this pair is continuation to the downside, but typically whenever we see a gap like this, not always, but most of the time, they will come back up and fill that little gap during the weekly open here. So it's also an interesting note that we gapped below this old daily order block, which now was old. It was support. Now it becomes resistance. So if we actually look at the level, or we draw out a box around the candle like this, any trade back up into that candle should provide resistance for us, and we should see selling from there. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in terms of any sell opportunities for this pair. I want to see them push back up into, at the absolute minimum, the low of this candle, which comes in at 29.50, but they could come all the way up and retest the open here, which comes in at 29.97. So also you want to take into account, what do we have here? 29.97 is 3 pips away from 1.30 big figure, right? And what do we say happens around those big figure levels? Typically around the big figure levels, we'll have a significant daily high or daily low form. So we need to have both of these levels on our chart. 29.50 again is our first level. It's got to be red because it is a resistance level, and we need to adjust the price. Alright, so that's 29.50, and then we also need to have another level on the open, and I'm going to explain this in just a second. So most of you probably would not put a resistance level on the open of this candle. Now the reason that I'm doing that is because anytime the market trades through a previous support level, it has the capacity to come all the way back up and retest the full body of that candle. So as you can see here, the low forms at 29.50, but the open is pretty much at 1.30 big figure. So if this market does push up, it could very well find resistance here at 29.50, and that be enough for it to sell off. But if it needs to, it could come back up to, at most, 1.30 big figure, and that could be where it sells off. Honestly, we'll probably see resistance come in around the 29.50 level since we've already gapped through it. That's just my personal opinion. But we have to have both levels on our charts because, again, we don't know which level they're going to use as resistance. We just have to go to our lower time frames once they hit that level, and then we can see, is there bearish price action off of this level or this level? And then from there, we can use that information to get on board for our sell with this particular pair. So have those two levels on your GBP USD charts. And now let's basically talk about the objectives or targets that we'll be looking for this pair. So my first target for GBP USD will be the high of this ICT bullish order block here, which comes in at $28.53. So we can just use $28.55 just so we're rounding up and it's at an even level and we don't have any crazy numbers in there. So we got $28.55. And that will be our first target. Okay, so that's about 70 to 80 pips from where we're at now. 70 pips from where we're at now. And obviously I'm not selling right now. I'm not looking to sell it where it's at here. I need to see the market push up first and hit one of my levels. Will it be this one? Will it be this one? Will it be this? I don't know which one it's going to be. Everyone in the premium group, you guys will know as soon as I take it. But what I'll be looking for is which level gives me the bearish price action, and is it during session times? Is it during London session? Is it during New York session? If so, that's when I'll be taking the trade and looking for my first target objective, which again is $28.55. So this level has to be blue because it is potential support. Now the reason when we get down to this level, this is going to be my first take profit, because we have this down move before this explosive move up. This could very well hold as support, right? I don't want to say that I'm expecting that because I'm technically not, but it could hold as support and then come back up for the liquidity above here. I don't think they're going to do that without coming and at least trading through this 2650 level, but I have to have that as my objective because I have to remain realistic about it, and I can't be looking for 300-400 pip moves and expect that to happen every single trade, because it won't. This is a realistic 70 pip objective, which is plenty for the week, and very easy to spot in my opinion. So we've got our levels that we're looking for, we've got our target, bam, everything is set. Now we just need to wait for price to get to those levels, show us the price action we're looking for during the time of day that is the most ideal, which is London or New York session. Okay, so I know we've been kind of, I don't want to say off the charts because we haven't been off the charts, but we haven't been actively trading because of the news events. We had FOMC, NFP, congressional elections, all kind of stuff that's basically caused the markets to really not have the clearest setups. Right now we've got a lot more information, we've got all those things behind us, and looking at price now, you can see that there's so much more clarity when looking at these charts, right? You can probably hear the confidence in when I'm talking about the pairs as well, right? And it's because we have that, we've waited, right? We've built that discipline, right? We've been able to watch the markets and call the markets on where we expect them to go and be correct about them while not trading them. That's super, super important, because what that allows us to do is we're still remaining in sync with the markets, but we don't have any live funds on the line. So now when we go back in and we're looking to actively, get in the markets and take a trade or whatever, we're already in sync from our previous analysis because we've been watching the markets, we've been doing our due diligence, we've been trying to see what's going to happen. We've waited for what we expect to happen, and it happened, right? So not all times will you be correct on your analysis, but this particular scenario, we were able to do our analysis, be correct on our analysis, not trade, and now we have all the information we need. Everything in the charts looks fine. We don't have any upcoming news events that should put us off, and we can go in and trade comfortably with high probability setups, with high probability conditions. All right, so real quick, just to recap GBP USD, and then we're gonna go a lot quicker through the rest of the pairs. These are obviously the two that I focus on heavily, so I want to give you guys basically every single thing that I'm looking for these. Now when we get to the other pairs, I don't look at them as religiously as I would say that I do with these. So I want you guys to basically have everything that I'm looking at with these. And that's everything I see there for GBP USD. Obviously, once we get through this 28.50 level, my targets will be moving down to the 50% level and the swing low here at 27 big figure. And then from there, we'll be looking for 26.60 down to 26.50. Okay, so that's much longer term. But first things first, I want to see that 28.50 level get hit. And once we get there, what kind of price action do we get? Are we continuing through it? Are we finding support? What's going on? I'll wait for that information, and then I'll basically look to take action on the whether or not I'm gonna buy the market there or continue selling it, move my stop loss, whatever. And all of you guys in the premium group will be updated as soon as I do make any changes to the trade or manage it or anything like that. So don't worry about me not telling you, because I will let you know as soon as I do anything with the trades, and you guys will know right away. And I was talking about GBP USD, so I'm just going to wrap this one up real quick and then we'll move on to the next pairs. But for GBP USD, I believe where the stream cut out for where I just watched it, we were talking about the little ICT bullish order block here that we've now gapped through. So if we come back up into the low, which is 29.50, but at maximum we want to see price stay below the 1.30 big figure, which again is the open of this ICT bullish order block here. So once we're through it, it becomes resistance, and you guys can see that for the market open, we gapped right through it here. Obviously that support was not holding up and the market wasn't having it, so we traded right through it. So we look for the market to retest those levels as potential resistance and sell off with a continuation to the downside for our target of 28.50. And if we can get lower down here, 27.80, then 27 big figure, and so on. So that's pretty much it for GBP USD. And like I said, any trades I take, anything that I manage on any trades that I call, all of you guys in the premium group will be updated as soon as I do that via the Telegram chat. So don't worry about any of that. And let's go ahead and move on to Euro GBP now. So for Euro GBP, we've seen a beautiful sell-off off of our 50% level here. And last week we've seen a bit of a continuation, making a lower low here and hitting the liquidity below these relatively equal lows that we had outlined. So if we can extend this over, you guys can see that we poked right through it here. And Friday, we had a nice little bullish day, and for the market open today, we had a little bit of a gap up. So for this pair, honestly, I'm going to be looking for either a continuation lower below this low, which should cause weaker prices in Euro, and either consolidation or strength in GBP. But as of right now, I'm expecting this pair it's going to trade sideways, either in a consolidation, or it should find resistance at this level here, which is an ICT bearish order block, also lining up with a previous ICT bullish order block that we are now traded through, which should act as resistance. So we'll go ahead and mark that level out. As you guys can see, the low of this candle as well as this candle pretty much aligns perfectly. And you may be wondering, why am I not using this low here? And it's just because this daily bearish order block lines up with this low. I'm electing to use this candle versus this low here. Okay, so that's the only reason I'm using this level, which is 87.64. I'm going to go ahead and use the 87.60 level, just because it is an even zero level. And you can see, oh, we need to make that red, sorry. Alright, so we should find resistance here and continue selling off, which that in itself should cause weaker prices for Euro. But really, I don't concern myself too much with this pair, but longer term macro analysis, I'm looking for price to continue selling off, which should continue our weaker Euro and either consolidate GBP USD or allow that one to either have a bit more of a rally, but nothing crazy like it's going to be making higher highs or anything yet. At least I don't think. So that's really it for Euro GBP. I'm going to go ahead and delete this level because we've already cleared it out. And I'm going to delete this because it's not valid anymore. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure my charts are updated and clean with the levels that I'm watching for. So we've got our target here, which we've already hit, but I'm looking for further continuation through that. So you can see that the bodies of the candles pretty much stopped and we turned around. I want to see a big bearish candle close through this low, which that level is 87 big figure. So I want to see a big bearish candle come through here. Alright, now let's move to the other pairs. So dollar yen, this pair last week we mentioned this ICT breaker here, and as you guys can see there was multiple opportunities. So if you're in the premium group, you guys already watched the daily technicals where I mentioned this. Whoops, sorry. eBay item. Let me actually put this on do not disturb. So this ICT bearish breaker, you guys can see once we were below it, we retested it, sold off. Then the market pushes up, finds resistance, the bodies of the candles remain within the box, retest the low of the box, aka also this previous ICT breaker here, ICT bullish breaker, bullish close above the box, retest the box, retest the box, retest the box, expansion. So this pair here was beautiful in terms of price action, how it panned out from our last weekly technicals analysis. So if you did not watch the weekly technicals from last week, which aired on November 4th, make sure to go watch that. So the weekly technicals that was uploaded on November 4th, you'll hear me talk about dollar yen. Notice the things that I mentioned and then what actually happened in the charts. Almost perfect to script. So for this pair here, we should see continue expansion to the upside as well for the 114.50 level, which is this high here. So we've got liquidity resting above there. Anyone who was selling this market on the push down, their stop loss is now resting above this high. So we want to see the market expand up to that level to clear out anyone's stop losses above here. Okay. If you notice, we've also got a triple top going on here. So there's a lot of liquidity built up above the 114.50 level, and I think once we get through that, we'll see honestly continued expansion higher. I don't think they'll waste much time, meaning I don't think they'll waste much time to come back down, because they've done so much work in this area here now that I think when they start expanding up, that it's just going to be exploding up. Right, so they'll explode above these highs, clear out the liquidity here. There's a lot of liquidity resting above the market. Notice the equal highs here, the equal highs here, the equal highs here, the equal highs here. There's a lot of liquidity built up in this white space here. So we want to see the market expand up into those levels to clear out any liquidity above the market. We've done all the work that we needed to do in this area. We're back above the level. And as you can see, with it being above here, we're starting to expand up. So really quickly, just for those of you that did not get a chance to watch the weekly the last week's technicals where we mentioned USD JPY, I want to show this pair on an hourly time frame so you can really see the importance of having these daily levels on your chart, right? Notice how we're below the red box. Resistance, 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 resistance. Here. Market pushes up, pushes up, pushes up. Okay, we find a little bit of resistance here. Come all the way back down, retest the bottom of the box, which is also this high before the run below the liquidity. So this is probably that daily ICT bullish breaker. Up move, down move, clears out all the liquidity. Come all the way back up. Break structure, come back down, retest the breaker. So it could be the bullish breaker or it could be the previous daily breaker that we had outlined. You can see once we retest that level, push up, market finds support, 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 get a nice little rally here, dips down, clears out the liquidity, support, comes back down, clears out the liquidity, support. So look at all the time it's spent within this box, right? So I believe it's done everything it's needed to do in here, and now we should see expansion to the upside. So 1.1, I don't know why I keep saying 1 point. 114 big figure, which is here, about 15 pips away from where we're at now, is my first objective. From there, I want to see 114.20, 114.50, and then I want to see if we can get above 115 big figure. Okay, so that's really it for dollar yen. I just wanted to show you guys that on an hourly time frame. That'll be the only pair that we go into an hourly time frame, just because I wanted to illustrate the importance of having these daily levels on your chart, because being below them or being above them can be really influential with what you do on an intraday basis if you have the level marked out on your chart. So for this, again, look for higher prices, 114.50 as our daily target or objective up here. Okay, and let's move into Australian dollar now. Now, with Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar right now, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't have as clear of a read on these two pairs as I do with Euro and GBP. Both of these we've seen, honestly, a nice push up, right? And we've been in a significant downtrend for a while here on Australian dollar. We've cleared out significant lows here. The fact that we've come all the way back up just kind of has me a little concerned about this pair particularly. So it's not one that I'm going to be trading. I just want to, kind of paint that picture before the fact. So I will not be trading this pair. I'm primarily only focused on Euro and GBP this week. But for this pair, as long as we remain below this high, so this high comes in at 73.15. This high over here comes in at 72.99. So basically 73 big figure, right? Also, I want you guys to notice how many times they stay 1 or 2 pips away from that big figure level, like 73 or 74. They stay 1 or 2 pips below it. That's done for a reason. That's why we always have to enter or exit 5 pips or even sometimes 10 pips early, just to ensure that we either get filled or we're able to exit before they go and make that reversal. So as long as we stay below 73.15 to 73.20, we should continue down for this. And my first target will be 71.60, which is this high. And if we can get continuation lower, I'll be looking for 71 big figure. And then continuation lower from there, I'll be looking for this swing low, which is around 70.20 down to 70 big figure. So honestly, I'd like to see this thing get back below 70 big figure. I'm just not too convinced until we get back down in this range here. Being that we're all the way up here, I could see them wanting to expand for the liquidity above the market. Now, dollar index isn't really giving me that scenario for this pair particularly, but I do have to consider that, as an option. So one thing that I do want to mention before moving on is I have this gray line here, which was a previous, anytime you guys see a gray line, it's a previous support or resistance level. And as you can see, it's the 50% level of these two up candles, which was a previous bearish order block. And we already traded into it once but twice here, so I went ahead and made it gray, which illustrates to me that it's already been used. We've come all the way back up and hit it again, so it could definitely recapitalize the level and start to sell off again from here. But usually if it's been tapped into numerous times, I like to remove that level off my charts because it typically won't use it again. But Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar are those pairs that kind of can consolidate and bang around between two specific levels for a while. That's why I keep my levels on longer for these pairs. So I'd like to see this 70 what is this level, 72.97. So really it is, we might as well just call it 73 big figure rather than saying 72.97 every time. So honestly, guys, as long as we remain below 73 big figure, we're just going to go ahead and use that level. As long as we remain below 73 big figure, we should see lower prices. Okay, so if we get above 73 big figure on a daily basis, if we close above that, so say we find support at this down candle here, and we push up above this 50% level and close above it, I'd be looking for a retest of that level and then further expansion higher. I wouldn't be convinced that we're going to go lower if we close above this level. Okay, so keep that in mind. Alright, and now let's move on to New Zealand dollar. So same thing for this, guys. You can see that we had a nice, bullish week last week, but we've got these equal highs resting up above this 68.50 level here. So again, I'm not too convinced that they're going to want to bring it all the way back down here again, before taking out these equal highs. So, we could see the early signs of a reversal here in New Zealand dollar, being that we did. Let's just go ahead and let's look at what we've done. All right, so this is gray. So this gray line, or this black line, is the low of the consolidation, and this red line is the high of the consolidation. We consolidated, we dropped below, took out any liquidity resting below here, got above it, retested the bullish order block, retested this bullish order block, came back down, wick through here, but the bodies of the candles still respected this bullish order block, pushes up, forms a new down candle here, boom, explosive bullish day up. Now we've got this down move and this down move confirmed as support levels. So when the market gets back down here, if it does, I would be looking for support at 66 big figure and also support down here at 65.70. So I don't necessarily think we'll be making a lower low down here at 64.20 like we're looking for on Euro and GBP, but we could definitely see this market just have an I don't want to say intraday, but I can't really figure out the word I'm trying to use for this here, but basically just like a short-term high. So this could be a short-term high, and then we could sell off down into this level, and then we could find support there and then trade higher from there. So I'm still bearish this market, but I'm not looking for new lower lows on the daily. I'm just looking for the market to trade back into key daily support levels. So that's here and that's also here. Okay, so just to illustrate the levels, we've got 66.10 is the exact level. So 66.10 down to 66 big figure. And then we've also got 65.70, which is the high of this daily ICT bullish order block. So with the dollar index analysis, I'm expecting higher dollar index, so I should expect weaker NZD or weaker New Zealand dollar. But looking at this price action with these significant bullish candles that we've had closing above here, it doesn't convince me that we're super bearish or anything, especially we've got equal highs resting here. So I'm basically sitting on my hands with this pair. I'm not trading this or Australian dollar. Not that I really trade them on a weekly basis ever anyways, but I'm definitely not trading them because I don't see that clarity like I do with Euro USD and GBP USD this week. Okay, so keep that in mind if you guys do trade these pairs, but obviously there's still something to trade within here. There's still profitable setups to be found. Basically, I've given you everything I would be looking for. So as long as we continue below, remain below this high here that formed on Wednesday, we should see price come back down into these support levels. But if we get back above this, I would be targeting the equal highs here. So that's both ways that I would play this pair in terms of being a buyer or even a seller. Alright guys, now we're going to move on to the last one, which is dollar CAD, and then we'll wrap up this session. So again, thanks guys for participating this whole time. I know it's been quite a long session, especially with the whole internet crash and all that. So this is basically the last 5 minutes or so. So hang tight for another few minutes and we'll be wrapping up. So for dollar CAD, we had another one that had pretty nice price action last week in my opinion. We took out both the liquidity that we had above here and above here. So Thursday and Friday, you see we had a nice bullish days and bullish expansion above the highs here, seeking the liquidity above the market. So now we have new liquidity that rests, or not new liquidity, but liquidity that is untapped that rests above this high, which comes in at 32.89. And that'll be the next objective that we're looking for as an upside target. And if we can get above there, we'll be looking for these relatively equal highs here. So look for that as your upside targets. But now we have to talk about where would you get on as a potential buyer here, right? So we have a new ICT daily bullish order block that has been confirmed by having Thursday and Friday close bullish above the level. So we have this big down candle, and then these bullish candles here closing above this down candle confirms this down move as a daily ICT bullish order block. So the high comes in at 31.68. We're going to use 31.70 because it's much easier to just go with a even number like that. So I would suggest using that as well, 31.70. And that'll be our next support level, right? So we'll mark out the 50% level as well, because if the market is in fact bullish and it is going to continue trading higher, we shouldn't see this market come back below the 50% level. If it does, at that point we have to consider, they're either going to consolidate or they may want to take prices even lower than the 50% level and run the liquidity below the swing low. We really don't have to factor that in though until the market actually gets there. So as long as we're remaining above that, obviously my buy is bullish, and that's it. Okay. Alright, so those are going to be our levels. I'm going to make this black just so I don't get confused. And as long as we stay above the 50% level, we should keep expanding higher for dollar CAD. First target will be here, so I'm going to be looking for a further continuation through it. We just kind of wicked through it on Friday, but I want to see a big bullish candle close through it. That could happen today, but honestly I'd be looking for the market to trade lower into support Monday, Tuesday, and find that support and then expand higher from there. So if we get above this level here, the 32, what is this high? 32.30. If we get above 32.30, I'll be looking for this high here, which comes in at 32.89. So I'll use 32.80, which is about 9 pips before it, just to be safe. So 32.30 to 32.80 will be my targets for dollar CAD, as long as we remain above this 31.20 level, which is the 50% level of this down candle. Again, the ICT bullish order block, the 50% level. If we do close below this 50% level, I'll be looking for a run down here, down here, down here. Okay. I don't think we're going to get that, especially with the anticipated higher dollar index. I would just have these levels on your chart as potential support and these levels as your upcoming targets. Now again, if we do get continued expansion above this 32.80 level to 33 big figure, we have to be looking left here because we've got relatively equal highs that come in at 33.80. So the real level is 33.86, but I'm using 33.80 because it is again an even level and makes it much easier to showcase the relatively equal highs. So that's it, guys. That's what I'm going to be looking at for dollar CAD, and that's pretty much the all the pairs I'll be looking at this week and the potential scenarios I'll be watching for within the charts. So that's it for the weekly technicals portion of this video, guys.
After this track, I might need me some lozenges. I ain't about to go soft. This rapping shit lately been pissing me off. Guess these words are kinda just at the tip of my tongue, but I'm still young and I hope I find the rhymes that'll live through time before that fat lady has sung. Cause when I'm inside this booth, feels like I rule the world. But I'll hop off my horse, hop in your Porsche, give it a